If you're thinking about moving from the US to Switzerland for work, you're in the right place. I'll break down how visas work, what jobs have the best chances for sponsorship, what you can expect to earn, and everything else you need to know before you pack your bags. And stick around for a tier list of jobs most likely to get you a Swiss work visa. So here's how the process looks if you're trying to get from the US to Switzerland. Switzerland is not a part of the EU, but has a very close relationship with the EU, including an agreement related to freedom of movement and easy work permits. But since Americans aren't a part of the EU, they're treated as non-EU nationals. That means you need both a work permit and usually a Type D visa to live here and work here. First and most important, you applied for a position with an employer that offers visa sponsorship. Congratulations, you got the job. This is definitely the most difficult part of the journey when you're trying to move from the US to Switzerland. Later we'll talk about what jobs actually give you the best chance. From here, the employer handles the heavy lifting. They apply for your work permit inside Switzerland, where they must show that no qualified Swiss or EU candidate was available, and that hiring you meets a genuine economic need. After the local canton gives their approval, the case goes to the State Secretariat for Migration for federal sign-off. Again, this part is handled by your employer or their HR or legal team. Once the permit is approved in Switzerland, you handle the entry visa by applying for a Type D visa at the Swiss consulate in the US. This visa lets you enter Switzerland to start your job. Then within 14 days of your arrival in Switzerland, you go to your local residence office, register your address, get your biometric residence and work permit card. Once you start working in Switzerland, health insurance is required within 3 months. Then you also set up things like a Swiss bank account for salary payments. But all of that's quite easy once you're actually here. You want to apply for a job in Switzerland. I offer one-on-one coaching to guide you step by step, from visas to CVs to interviews. Check the link in the description to book your session and increase the chances to land the job you want. Here's how long it takes. You get the job, you sign your contract, and then your employer starts the permit application process. It takes about 4 to 8 weeks. Your company in Switzerland applies for your work permit with the Canton Migration Office. This involves proving why you're uniquely qualified, submitting your contract, diplomas, and CV. Cantonal approval comes first, then federal approval from the State Secretariat for Migration. The next step is getting your visa at the consulate in America. It should take about 2 to 4 weeks. Once Switzerland approves your permit, the decision is sent to the Swiss consulate in your home region of the US, and you can then submit your visa application, passport, photos, and a small fee. This is the step that you personally handle. When you land in Switzerland, you need to register at your local residence office within 14 days. They'll take your fingerprints and photo for your biometric BRL permit. Typically arrives by post a few weeks later. Letter permits are based on your contract and your country of origin. The timelines vary depending on the canton, the job type, and how quickly your employer moves. As you can see, this is a joint process, but the employer does 90% of the paperwork that matters. You just handle the consulate step and your local registration once you land. The most difficult part about the whole journey is finding an employer that is actually willing to go through this process. A big factor for your company to be able to hire you are the quotas that exist for non-EU nationals. So at the end of the year or quarter, when quotas might be exhausted, your chances go down. Or there might be delays, then you have to wait for new slots to open up in the next quarter. This whole process takes quite a while. You don't want to add to it by missing paperwork. Get your references, diplomas, and everything else in order. Otherwise, the back and forth is going to add weeks. Not every canton runs at the same speed. Some offices are lightning fast, others are more bureaucratic. And the cantons have more differences than just the speed. Different cantons also have their own quotas for hiring non-EU citizens. So while the quotas might be very competitive and exhausted in one of the more popular cantons like Zurich, you might still have a chance and find an employer willing to sponsor you and able to hire you in one of the more rural cantons. In total, from job offer to actually starting work, most Americans can expect about 8 to 12 weeks. For highly specialized roles in shortage sectors, it can be a bit faster. For niche or borderline cases, plan for up to 3 to 4 months to be safe. Here's a mini checklist about what to do while you wait for your permit and visa. Gather your documents, diplomas, transcripts, references, birth certificates, marriage certificates. Plan your housing. Switzerland, like everywhere else in the world at this point, is facing a housing shortage, and it's not that easy to find something permanent. Personally, I recommend getting something furnished and temporary that you can just book for a limited time, so you have enough time to look around, get used to where you live, figure out where you want to live, and look for something more permanent. Research your health insurance. Switzerland has mandatory health insurance, but you have to do it yourself. Every provider has a basic plan that is guaranteed by the law, but above that, you can choose to add on however much you want. So do some research, find a plan that suits you, and be ready when you move to the country. For your bank account, you can do some research beforehand as well. There's even some Swiss banks that offer to open an account for you before you're even there locally. Don't forget that there's several different languages spoken in Switzerland, so depending on the region that you're moving to, I would look up some German, some Italian, or some French beforehand. It's not only going to help you integrate, but also just order a cappuccino. Doing these 5 things will make your landing in Switzerland much smoother and help you hit the ground running when your permit finally comes through. Switzerland has annual quotas for non-EU permits. They prioritize highly qualified people, like managers, specialists, scientists, especially in industries with a skills shortage, like IT, engineering, life sciences, healthcare, finance, compliance. Low-skilled roles almost never get approved for non-EU nationals. Let's talk about salaries. What can you actually earn in Switzerland? Let's look at principal level and specialist salaries in Switzerland. All the numbers are based on salary per year in Swiss francs before bonuses and benefits. If the salary ranges seem wide to you, it's because we are talking about different industries, different locations in the country. There's going to be quite a difference between Zurich and Bern or Geneva. Zurich is Europe's top tech pay spot after London. So if you're an engineer or work in IT, there's a lot to earn here. The more niche the field is, think biotech or pharma or any of the life sciences, the more your earning potential rises. There's also a lot of consulting here. As in every other country in the world, working at one of the big 4 is a good way to earn a lot of money. Location makes a big difference in salary as well. Zurich pays the highest overall. Think of it as Switzerland's financial and tech hub. Basel and Geneva also pay well in life sciences and international organizations. Smaller cities typically pay 10 to 25% less, but cost of living can be lower there too. And don't forget to check up on local taxes, because there's also differences between the taxes you pay in Zurich or Zug, for instance, which is why Zug is a very popular destination for the big crypto companies, even earning a reputation as being Switzerland's Silicon Valley. Let's look at some big companies that hire internationally and might sponsor markets. Big multinationals like Roche, Novartis, Google, and UBS are obvious. Other names to know include Lonza, ABB, Zurich Insurance, Syngenta, and international organizations like the WHO, CERN, or the BIS. Here's my tier list of the jobs most likely to get you a Swiss work visa as an American. The D tier, where it's almost impossible to find somebody to sponsor you. And that's entry-level jobs, retail, general hospitality, and unskilled labor. Now we're entering the C tier. So administrative roles, marketing, and generalist positions. And HR, unless you're some very highly specialized position. B tier, niche hospitality, executive chefs with unique skills, or creative and design experts with rare expertise. A tier still gives a very high chance: engineering, mechanical, electrical, civil, chemical, finance specialists, senior consultants, regulatory and compliance experts. The S tier is the highest chance: principal and senior roles in IT, software engineering, cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, data science, life science, pharma, R&D, as well as medical doctors. Let's put together some tips. Generally, it's never a bad idea to be active on LinkedIn and connect with potential employers there. And a warm intro goes far. Ask for referrals from colleagues that already know somebody in Switzerland. Health insurance is mandatory, so make sure you research which plan you want. US citizens still have to file US taxes, even when they're abroad. So make sure you consult a tax specialist so you don't get on the bad side of the US government. Here, learn some German, French, or Italian, depending on the region that you get your job in. If you're the spouse or partner of somebody who has been hired by a company in Switzerland, you may be able to get a dependent permit that allows you to work as well, which makes it much, much easier. If you really want to move to Switzerland and you have the means, it might be a good idea to look at advanced studies as well. Switzerland has some of the best universities in the world, including the ETH and Zurich University, and doing an advanced degree in Switzerland is a great chance to come to the country, meet the locals, build up a network, and then get a job here eventually. Switzerland can be a fantastic move if you have the right skills. Focus on shorter sectors. Apply to companies that explicitly offer relocation support, and be patient with the paperwork. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and check out the next video.